where do you think Steve's reputation is in the player community? And all I mean by that is, Pop is Pop. Pop not only had his 5 rings, but a longer runway just as an older man to for that legend to grow. And by the time players would play for Pop with Team USA, and it was a relatively short run, um, there was no curiosity, I don't think, about who he was. And I'm sure players who had never played for him, they had to figure him out. But with Steve, I feel like whether it's an age thing or just a career arc thing, that like I do wonder if you're an Anthony Edwards, for example, and this is going to probably segue perfectly into the next part, but you're Anthony Edwards, and it's been reported how Steve comes to him and talks about possibly coming off the bench, which at Team USA that's supposed to be like all for one for all. D Wade, guys like that. That's what you do. But that Anthony Edwards, had told Steve, like, I understand that D Wade came off the bench, but they had Kobe. We don't have a Kobe on this team. And Ant felt like that quote was kind of cited. I think he felt bad about the way it came out, but like I get his point. So you're having those kind of conversations between Steve and a player like Anthony Edwards. But what's the foundation, if any, going in, do you think, as far as how players see him?
I think you're absolutely right, and it's the opposite of Pop, where like they only know about Steve from what they hear from the guys who've played with Steve, which is really not their generation. I think the difference with Pop is he's been around for so long. There's like a whole cycle of players who've come in and out of the organization, right? Like, you
Well,
from
and he
Steve
also he
Jackson
was
to
always
Kawhi.
really he was one of those guys. He would always go to the other side of the court after the game, and you could tell
Oh
he
yeah.
knew the guys who never played for him.
No, no question. And I think Steve is getting to the point where he's been in long enough, and now these new guys are starting to know him. The old guys know him, right? I think like Chris Paul and them, they know Steve. He's had that time in Phoenix as the general manager, and he's spent building the Warriors. They've gone against him. So the people who've
TNT
gone
and all that.
against him, yeah, they know him. I think this next generation, this is where Team USA comes in handy because like taking you back to 2020, the 2020 draft. They work out Anthony Edwards, and Steve Kerr essentially tells him like, "Hey, you need to work harder." Right? Like he's like, "Yo, you're good, you're obviously talented, but man, you have to like if you want to be the guy you think you are, there's another level of work ethic you can get to." And Anthony Edwards is like, "Yo," he calls his trainer and he's like, "Yo, I need to step it up because I think what it was Steve asked him like, can he do more? And he said he couldn't do it. He was too tired or whatever. Uh, but like that's the beginning of it, right? And now that's his first interaction. What are these other players? This is going to be their first interaction, right,
Right.
with Steve Kerr. So I think he's building that reputation around the league. As it is, I bet you a lot of them think like, yo, man, you coach Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. Like, how good are you? But his philosophy, the way he thinks about the team, if you like, I think that's what they're going to learn. I think you're going to get that sense of what he's about, that he's chill, right? Like, he's not the admiral, the militaristic style like you hear about Popovich, right? Where you're going to do things my way, right? Like, Steve is like much more pull you to the side. And I think this Anthony Edwards thing, where it's like, and I know I'm talking about Anthony Edwards a lot, but and Steve Kerr, but the whole
Future warrior, Anthony Edwards.
come off the bench and all right, now Steve, now he's like, yeah, whatever. I bet you Steve loved that about him. Love that he's like, I wouldn't. No, I don't really feel that because those type of things are about building a relationship. This is like you think of Draymond and Steve, how many times they've clashed about stuff,
Right.
right? To me, that Steve ethos as the coach is like it's kind of corny and cliche, but we're in this together. We're gonna lock arms. We're gonna disagree, but we're together. We're gonna get on the same page, and we're gonna go win. And I do feel like he's starting to build some of that stuff with the next generation of players, which, we can talk about contract stuff. If he ends up somewhere else, that's going to be a big deal.